TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Have you ever gotten any money that was owed to you from Paul Heyman and ECW, or pretty much
not a pretty penny?
Okay.
Not one thing. And he even alluded to Chris. When Chris was going back to Raw's, he was being invited back, and they were meeting with him, and Vince was meeting him about, possibly coming back and doing some cruiserweight thing. And Paul went up to him in the hallway and he said to Chris, because Chris called me right up and told me this, and I was shocked. Paul said, Chris, I'm going to do everything I can to get you back here because I owe you.
Right.
And we knew what he meant. And he knew, because we lost a lot of money because of that man.
With the flights and the credit cards and all that.
Yeah, we at the time we had a beautiful house, a $500,000 home in Central Jersey in Colts Neck, that we had to sell because we owed American Express $180,000 for ECW.
All right.
When they went bankrupt, refused to give us any money. We owed that to Amex. We tried to dispute it, and Amex says to me, "Well, you have flights in the same names of people for the past 2 years that you've been paying fine. How do we know that this wasn't yours?"
Right.
And what happened too, when we stopped working there, Debbie Beaumont, who was doing a couple of tickets, somehow she had our credit card number, and she was using our credit card still to make their tickets after we were gone from the company.
Right.
For months, a good 6 months.
That's crazy.
We're getting our Amex bills, and here's all ECW's plane tickets. We're like, we don't even fucking work there anymore.
Right.
And they kept using our Amex, so we couldn't dispute it with Amex. They wouldn't even look at us. Because for 2 years, everything was kosher.
Right.
Then all of a sudden...
How'd you get out of that mess?
We had to sell
the house?
We had to sell the house.
Oh, man.
I sold the house. I put $125,000 down on the house, cash, and then our mortgage was $3,600 a month. You know how much I got back after we paid off Amex and everything? I walked away with $30,000. So I put $125 cash down, walked away with 30. Right. Not 130. 30.
That sucks.
Because I had to pay Amex $180 so they didn't sue me and put me in jail.
Right.
It's like fraud. I mean, it's grand larceny. It was ridiculous. So yeah, I had to sell the house, wrote a huge check for $180. Well, I didn't write the check. My, real estate lawyer did, to get rid of the Amex bill.
Right. A few years ago, you announced that you're going to retire and you were going to become a flight attendant. Whatever came about with that?
One day when I said I want to retire, somebody said, "Oh, what do you want to do?" I'm like, "I don't know. Maybe I'll be a flight attendant."
Oh, okay.
That was it. It was just, I don't know. Maybe
it was like in the Observer.
Maybe I'll fly the friendly skies.
I was reading it in the Observer and everything.
Oh yeah, I was just like,
what?
I was like, yeah, maybe I'll be a garbage man too. It's just like, it was just like something I said. Right. And all of a sudden people were like, "Oh, she's going to," I'm like, what? Huh. Yeah, so like when Chris was thinking about going back too, he was even saying, it's the monster era again. They went from the monster era in the 80s to the good workers, and doesn't matter what your size is in the 90s, back to the monster era now in 2000s. Right. So Chris is even like, I really want to go, but I don't see myself there right now. That's why he chose TNA. Right. Because he saw himself there. He saw that could work. Whereas, with WWE, because, when he went to the Raw thing, Vince even went up to him. He goes, Chris, I want to bring you back. He's like, please don't sign with anyone, especially TNA right now. Vince even said that to him. But he waited like another 9 months and nothing was happening yet. He's like, well, I'm not going to sit around forever, and maybe nothing will ever happen because I don't look like Batista. So he was like, well, I'm going to go to TNA. And I'm so glad he did. And he's so glad he did because that's where he fit, and that's where he enjoyed it.
TitleMatchNetwork.com.